What if the mess in your backyard is actually full of hidden beauty, just waiting to be shaped by your hands? What if that broken hose, that pile of scraps, could become the most eye-catching part of your garden? You don't need new things. You need new eyes. Welcome to Modhouse DIY, where forgotten objects find a second life. In today's video, we're diving into creative, practical, and unexpected DIY trash garden ideas, simple ways to transform discarded items into functional beauty for your patio or tiny yard. Everything in this video is time-stamped, so feel free to jump to the ideas you need. Have questions? Drop them in the comments. We're here. Inspired? Take what you see and make it your own, with whatever you have on hand. And before we begin, just a moment to say this. You may see a video, but behind this is a real voice, a real home, and a small family chasing something fragile. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it's not small to us. You're not just supporting content. You're helping keep a dream alive. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing the value in what we create. Not all beauty begins perfect. Some of it begins with shards, discarded glass, forgotten scraps of metal, and the simple longing to bring joy to a plain garden fence. In this quiet backyard, each butterfly clings gently to the wood like a secret waiting to be told. Their wings, once fragments of broken bottles and shattered windows, now shimmer with new life: sapphire blue, amber gold, rose pink, and emerald green. Held together by delicate wire and shaped by hand, they don't pretend to be real butterflies. And yet somehow, when the sun hits just right, they feel more alive than most. One flutters in the corner of your vision, purple glass dancing in the breeze, tethered only by a thread of wire. Another catches the morning light, projecting flecks of green and gold onto the soil below. They're not just decoration, they are storytellers. Whispering tales of second chances, of what can be made from what was once thrown away. Below them, wild daisies lean lazily into the frame. A forgotten garden hose curls near the fence, not out of place, but perfectly at home in this world of humble materials and honest creation. The gravel path crunches softly underfoot as you walk by, and you catch yourself smiling, not at perfection, but at effort. At care. This DIY idea doesn't ask for money or precision. It asks for hands, for time, and for the patience to see past the cracks and into the light. Because sometimes, in the heart of the smallest garden, broken things become the most beautiful part of the story. Sometimes, beauty begins at ground level. Not in grand gestures, but in what lies quietly along the edge, reclaimed, rebuilt, and reframed. Here, along a humble flower bed, trash is no longer trash. Bottles once tossed aside now form the bones of something extraordinary. Some stand upright, their green necks peeking from the soil like sentinels of the earth. Others lie down, shoulder to shoulder, filled with colored sand or left transparent, each one a story in glass, shaped by time, held by soil. And atop them? A riot of fragments. Shards of kitchen tile, porcelain plates with delicate edges, broken yet bold. They've been grouted and laid like jewels, not to be hidden but celebrated. One moment you'll spot a yellow blossom etched into ceramic. The next, a swirl of blue and white, like an echo of the Mediterranean. These aren't polished mosaics, they're real. handmade, imperfect and honest. The kind of border you'd run your fingers along just to feel the weight of someone's effort. Zinnias burst upward, unapologetically bright. Geraniums lean into the light. Lavender hums softly with bees. The plants don't care that their fence was once forgotten packaging. They thrive because it gives them structure and color. And maybe that's what makes this idea so compelling. It doesn't try to hide its past. It repurposes it into something you can touch, walk beside, and be proud of. This isn't a craft. It's a transformation. One that begins with a pile of broken things, and ends in a border that blooms. As daylight fades and the air turns cool, something magical begins to stir in the quiet corners of the garden. It's not the flowers. It's not the breeze. It's the flicker of repurposed wonder, bottles that once held nothing more than soda or wine, now glowing softly from within. Strung delicately beneath a humble pergola, these bottles, emerald, amber, cobalt, hang like drops of light suspended in time. Some cradle tea lights. Others embrace full candles. Their warm glow dances on gravel and wood, bouncing softly against terracotta pots and the petals of wisteria trailing overhead. It's a setting that feels too perfect to be planned, too intimate to be mass-produced. And yet, you can make it. It starts with bottles from your recycling bin. Wrap them with twine, twist some wire to hold the candle steady, and let gravity and imagination do the rest. Each bottle hangs unevenly, not by accident, but by charm. There's beauty in the imperfection. One bottle might be chipped. Another, cloudy. But when the flame flickers through the glass, it doesn't matter. They shine together, not because they're flawless, but because they're useful again. Underneath the soft light, a wooden bench waits. A single mug rests nearby, still warm. The scene doesn't ask for attention, it offers comfort. You don't need a grand garden. Just a little pergola, some leftover bottles, and the will to turn trash into tenderness. This is DIY at its quiet best. Not loud. Not complicated. Just honest light from honest. There are places in the garden that whisper instead of shout, places meant for tea, stillness, and soft shadows. This wall, made from bottles no one thought to keep, now holds the sun itself. Each bottle, green like olive leaves, amber like honey, clear as old glass windows, was once discarded. But now, carefully stacked and aligned into a sturdy frame, they catch morning light and turn it into magic. Stripes of color spill onto the gravel or dance on nearby walls. In their alignment, there's rhythm. In their imperfections, character. It's not just a privacy wall. It's a mosaic of memory. A piece of each week's recycling, each dinner shared, each celebration uncorked and poured. Some bottles still carry the faint trace of a label. Others are worn, their surfaces scratched by time and travel. But together, they stand strong, shielding the quiet corners of the garden without closing them in. Below, herbs stretch lazily toward the warmth. A rosemary bush leans gently into the light. A weathered chair waits beneath the ivy's creeping embrace. The wall filters not only sun, but mood. Harsh midday becomes gentle glow. Wind becomes whisper. And you? You become still. You look at this simple DIY project, wood, bottles, patience, and realize how few things are needed to create something meaningful. This is not store-bought privacy. It's earned, built, bottled light, framed in care. Make one for yourself, even just a panel. Let it catch the light. Let it catch the eye of someone passing by. Maybe, let it catch a part of your heart, because nothing thrown away should be underestimated. Especially not in a garden where even glass can bloom. Some ideas don't take space. They take shape, bending gently above a garden path, catching the morning light not with grandeur, but with grace. Here stands an arch, no wider than your reach, made from a garden hose long past its prime. Bent into a soft curve and anchored into the earth, it becomes the quiet frame of something beautiful. Suspended from its body are small terrariums, each one a recycled bottle turned delicate world. Some cradle moss like velvet. Others hold sand, bark, or a single succulent nestled in soil and stone. They do not glow or move. But they float. Light filters through them as if time is slowing down to watch. A breeze might nudge them gently. A bee may stop to inspect. And for the gardener, they offer more than beauty, they offer presence. You pass beneath this arch not just on your way somewhere, but to pause, to look, to smile. The arch might be made from a green hose, or black, or even a striped one that once wound through the backyard like a forgotten snake. It doesn't matter. With each bend, each wire, each bottle filled by hand, this tiny structure becomes something honest. A moment. A mark that says, this space was touched by care. And when the day grows quiet, the sun warms the path beneath it. Lavender hums on both sides. A watering can rests nearby. The bottles glint softly in the light, not store-bought glass, but rescued fragments of everyday life, now elevated. This is not just a DIY. It's an invitation to look up, even just a little, and see how much beauty hangs in the air when we're willing to give old things a second life. Not all borders are meant to keep things out. Some are built to hold beauty gently in place, just like this. Here in a small backyard, ordinary glass bottles become something tender and true. Embedded upside down in a quiet row, they form a translucent garden fence, green, amber, and clear, each one catching the light like dew on a leaf. The bottles don't match, and that's their charm. Some are tinted with stories from past celebrations, others dulled by time. Together, they line the herb beds with humble dignity, offering a boundary that's soft to the eye and kind to the earth. In the center of this scene, rosemary and sage grow like old friends. Chives spill outward, brushing against moss that creeps between bottle bases. The fence doesn't shout. It hums, low, grounding, and full of character. You can see where hands pressed each bottle into place, where soil was smoothed down, where care was poured in with no need for perfection. On the far side, the bottle line curves gently toward a patio where tools lean and lavender spills into the walk. Painted plastic bottles, transformed into whimsical fence toppers, bloom with hand-drawn flowers, sunny blues, cheerful reds, echoing the garden's own rhythm. It's the kind of project anyone can do. Start with bottles you have. Rinse them clean. Flip them over, line them up, and press them into the earth or set them in concrete. No fancy equipment, no special training, just your time, a bit of patience, and a love for small spaces made beautiful by intention. And when the light falls just right, you'll see it. A garden wrapped in colorless stained glass, singing quietly to those who walk by. Not a wall, but a welcome, crafted from things most would throw away. This is more than recycling. It's remembering that beauty begins with noticing. And sometimes, with nothing more than a bottle and an idea, we can build something that feels like home. There's something sacred about stillness. About textures you can touch with your eyes. About stones that don't speak but tell a story anyway. In this garden, those stories come alive, not through gold or marble, but through broken tile, softened glass, and old ceramic once forgotten in kitchen drawers or bathroom walls. Here, they find peace and purpose. In the first garden path, quiet waves of white stone flow gently around a bonsai pine. Interwoven with blue and gray mosaic shards, the pattern mimics water in motion, like a stream captured mid-whisper. Lotus flowers rise from the riverbed, shaped from fractured tiles once bound for the bin. They bloom without needing soil, their petals holding time. Everything here is intentional but unpolished. The bamboo water spout in the distance adds rhythm to the silence. You could recreate this, start small. Collect pieces that have outlived their use. Let their edges tell you where to place them. Trust your instinct. The second scene brings balance into form. Not flowing like the first, but precisely meditative. A checkerboard of cracked porcelain and black pebbles sits low near the base of tall grasses and flowering shrubs. Every line seems measured, but nothing about it is cold. It's handmade, patiently so. This is where planning meets imperfection. If you've ever dropped a plate and swept up the shards, consider saving some next time. You don't need many to form a pattern. Just presence and care. Then comes the koi path, perhaps the most whimsical of all. It curves softly between moss and gravel, lined with soft pebbles like riverbeds in dreamscapes. Embedded in the stones are ceramic koi fish, their forms shaped from recycled pottery, each with their own markings, each floating through this garden without water. There's joy here, quiet joy. And maybe that's what makes it work. This is a garden not built with perfection but with emotion. It's about seeing worth in what's broken, arranging the overlooked, and making beauty not in spite of waste, but because of it. So look again at what you're about to throw away. Because under your fingertips, it might become a koi, or a lotus, or the next piece of calm in your backyard. In the quiet folds of a backyard where stories grow alongside flowers, there stands a trio of benches, not just for sitting, but for remembering, imagining, and simply being. These aren't ordinary seats. They are mosaics of moments, collected piece by piece from what others might call trash, and transformed into warm invitations to pause. The first bench, nestled at the edge of a vegetable bed, is built from cinder blocks and salvaged wood. But it's the mosaic tiles, wildflowers, sunbursts, and tiny shards of ceramic joy that steal the eye. The sun glows gently across its surface, catching in the glazed cracks of yellow petals and deep blue leaves. Just below, a low garden border continues the story, wrapping the bed like a frame of color. Nearby, marigolds bloom with quiet pride, and a watering can rests, as if left there by someone who's just stepped inside for lemonade. It's not a showpiece. It's real. It's loved. And you can build it too, with patience, broken plates, and a heart that sees beauty in imperfection. A few steps away, another bench rises from red bricks and reclaimed timber. Its form is strong, square, and honest. The mosaic here whispers a quieter tale, earth-toned petals set into cream-colored tile, surrounded by the confident faces of sunflowers rising tall in the background. You can see the chips, the imperfect grout lines, the age in the wood. That's what makes it beautiful. It doesn't pretend to be new, it tells you it's survived, been repurposed, and found its place again. And maybe, in your own small garden, an old broken table or scattered tile can find its new purpose too. Then there's the curve, an elegant arc of smooth cement rising from the grass like a question mark. Embedded in its backrest is a constellation of porcelain, teacup handles, saucers, and vintage plates dancing across a background of colored tile. Behind it, cosmos and zinnias stretch toward the light. This mosaic bench doesn't shout. It plays. It hums with garden laughter and childhood memories. A perfect place for barefoot mornings with tea, or sunset talks with someone you love. Each bench, each tile, each imperfection, they come together not just as decor, but as declaration. You don't need perfection to make beauty. You don't need wealth to create peace. You only need time, care, and a willingness to make something magical from what you already have. Let your garden speak. And let the broken things bloom again. There's something quietly magical about working with what we already have. About giving a second life to things once tossed aside. In this little backyard corner, that philosophy takes root, quite literally. What began as a handful of discarded plastic bottles and a few forgotten bamboo stakes has grown into a living spiral of color, scent, and renewal. The garden doesn't shout for attention. It whispers, inviting you in with the scent of fresh basil, the tickle of mint leaves against your hand, and the soft crunch of soil underfoot. Each bottle in the spiral is carefully cut, filled with rich compost, and staked into place with bamboo poles that trace the curves like lines in a nature-drawn poem. The spiral begins low and wide at the outer edge, gradually rising inward to a central terracotta pot, overflowing with flowering basil. Below it, creeping thyme tumbles outward, spilling over the edges like green lace. These bottles do more than hold soil. They showcase root growth like botanical terrariums. Each one gives a glimpse into the underground world we usually overlook. How parsley stretches downward, how thyme anchors itself, how mint grows wild if left alone. Reused wine bottles, embedded vertically in the earth, form an emerald border that glows when the sun hits it just right. Their curve holds the soil in place and adds a visual rhythm that feels both structured and organic. This isn't just an herb spiral. It's a philosophy. A reminder that good things don't need to be expensive, and that the best designs often come from what's within reach. Let your backyard be a place where herbs thrive, bottles are reborn, and every little spiral tells the story of hope, reuse, and beauty stitched together by hand. In a quiet corner of the garden, where sun meets shade and time feels suspended, a fence becomes more than just a boundary. It becomes a living gallery, each frame a bottle a miniature world, and each world a quiet reminder that even what we throw away can cradle life again. The first glance is playful. Rows of old plastic bottles sway gently in the breeze, hung with care from coarse jute strings. Cut open with precision, their interiors hold mossy carpets, curling ferns, and small bursts of green that feel like forest floors in miniature. The wood behind them is aged but warm, like it remembers the stories whispered by the vines that now climb across its planks. Morning light slips through the foliage, casting soft, shifting shadows across the garden wall. There is something peaceful here, something slow and sacred, as if the plants inside the bottles are taking a breath for us. Step closer and you'll find another kind of magic. A single bottle, fogged gently with condensation, holds a scene so detailed it almost feels enchanted. A stone path winds through tiny succulents, flanked by flecks of moss and speckled pebbles. The glass reflects the golden marigolds just beyond, and in the background, a hand-painted garden sign peeks through, blurred like a memory. It doesn't take much to build a dream like this, just a bottle, a hook, and a willingness to look closer at the small things. And then there's the corner, the bamboo fence stitched with light and shadow. Here, 6 glass jugs curve with purpose, each holding air plants, pine cones, charcoal bits, and seashells like a treasure map of texture and color. Beneath them, basil and rosemary lean toward the sun, grounded in earth while their companions float above. It's a perfect balance of reuse and renewal, stillness and growth, trash and treasure. This isn't just decor. It's a quiet revolution in the garden. A way of saying, we see beauty where others see waste. And it starts, as most revolutions do, with just one bottle and the will to fill it with life. There's something quietly poetic about a garden stitched together from fragments, where brokenness becomes beauty, and discards find new life cradling green things. Along the edge of this humble vegetable bed, shards of old ceramic tile, rusty orange, ivory, and cobalt, rise like teeth from the soil. No two pieces are the same. Some are smooth and matte, others glazed and faintly floral, whispering of a kitchen past or a bathroom shelf now gone. In the center, leafy rows of lettuce, radish, and carrots flourish in the dark, crumbly earth. Beads of dew cling to the leaves, fresh from the morning mist. A pair of well-worn gardening gloves rest gently on the tile, forgotten or perhaps just taking a break, like the hands that wore them. This isn't a designer garden. It's a lived-in, loved space, where vegetables grow with the kind of confidence only sunlight and patience can bring. Reusing broken tiles this way doesn't require much. You don't need perfect cuts, just a bit of time and a willingness to piece things together. Nestle the shards into the soil like a mosaic puzzle, letting the colors dance in uneven rhythm. The imperfections create charm, and the soil does the rest, grouting the cracks with time and life. A watering can leans against the edge, its metal dulled by use. Chalkboard labels poke from the soil like tiny flags, reminding us that even simple greens deserve names. Beyond the beds, a gravel path crunches beneath the boots of someone who dreams in vegetables and saves every cracked plate just in case. Because in this kind of garden, nothing is truly wasted. Even the broken things still grow something back. Sometimes, beauty begins not with something new, but with something forgotten, curled behind a shed, dusty, a little weathered by seasons. In this story, the humble garden hose, cracked, faded, retired from its original job, becomes the frame that holds wild joy in place. In the golden hush of late afternoon, we see a garden that feels like it grew from memory. A border curves gently through green grass, outlined by an old green hose. It's secured by wooden pegs, hand-cut and imperfect, their natural color soft against the weathered rubber. Inside the curve, wildflowers stretch toward the warmth, black-eyed Susans glowing like little suns, blue cornflowers dancing above fine stems, and tiny chamomile heads swaying in unison. There's no strict order, only rhythm. No forced perfection, just a quiet, blooming spontaneity. In another corner of the yard, a whimsical twist, the same hose, but painted in pastel stripes, mint, blush, lemon yellow. Childlike smiles and sleepy eyes are drawn onto each band, turning the hose into a line of dreaming snakes guarding beds of cosmos and alyssum. A tin watering can rests nearby, worn and dented, as if it's lived a long, helpful life. Dew glistens on the petals, the sun not yet high enough to dry away the garden's breath. Behind it, ivy climbs, clinging to wood like old stories clinging to home. And then, the simplest picture, a loop of black hose framing a patch of tall sunflowers and purple coneflowers. Gravel on one side, blooms on the other. No expensive tools, no complicated steps. Just intention. And perhaps a small garden gnome keeping watch, chipped and cheerful. This DIY edging is about working with what you have. No need to cut wood, buy bricks, or pour concrete. If you've got an old hose and a few pegs or even some bent wire, you already have the shape of your next garden frame. Let the border follow the curves of your landscape. Let your flowers spill past it. Let the line blur, between planned and wild, between trash and treasure. And maybe that's the lesson, a garden, like a life, doesn't have to be fancy to be full. In the gentle hush of a backyard morning, where sunlight slips through the railing like liquid gold, something extraordinary rises from forgotten things. Bottles once tossed aside now bloom with intention. Here, in the quiet corners of a white gazebo, towers of recycled life take root, each one a layered tribute to second chances. The first scene greets us with color and cheer. Twin planters, made entirely from plastic soda bottles, stand like joyful gatekeepers flanking the steps of the gazebo. Trimmed and carefully nested into one another, they support cascades of nasturtiums, baby's breath, and radiant petunias. Each bottle holds not just soil, but a humble offering, proof that beauty doesn't ask for luxury, only care. It's the kind of design that invites anyone to try, bottles clean, bottoms trimmed, glued, filled, and stacked, a vertical flower bed built from everyday waste. A bit of patience, a pinch of creativity, and suddenly your patio becomes a bloom-covered gallery. Just around the curve, a smaller but no less noble tower leans against a wooden post. These bottles are darker, greens and ambers from old juices and sauces, arranged in a column, holding fragrant herbs like basil, parsley, and thyme. They grow abundantly, nourished by the sunlight filtering in, giving back tenfold to the home cook who steps out barefoot for a sprig. The nearby wicker chair suggests a ritual, a morning cup of tea, the rustle of leaves, and the comfort of knowing your garden is growing quietly with you. Then, the final view expands into a storybook spread, soft pastels, delicate vines, and a sleeping golden dog. 3-tiered planters, hand-painted in lilac and mint, soften the sturdy shape of the plastic, turning function into charm. Trailing greenery spills downward like waterfall lace, and blooms peek shyly from between the layers. Fairy lights drape above, hinting at evening gatherings or quiet reflections beneath their gentle glow. These aren't just planters. They're monuments to what's possible with trash, time, and tenderness. They remind us that even what's discarded can become the most adored part of a home, if we dare to reimagine. And maybe, if you pause long enough between one bottle and the next, you'll find the garden you didn't know was waiting inside your recycling bin. Some stories bloom not from seeds, but from forgotten things, those curled hoses once tangled behind the shed, left brittle by time and sun. In this tiny patio haven, they are given a new purpose. Here, beauty doesn't come in new packaging, it grows from resilience, patience, and a gardener's quiet refusal to throw things away. The first trellis stands like a graceful sculpture in motion. A tall wooden frame dressed in black hose loops, now curved like the petals of a wildflower caught in wind. Morning glories, in shades of royal violet and soft pink, wind upward with a quiet kind of urgency, eager to reach the sun. Their tendrils hold the hose tightly, as if grateful for the support. Around the base, terracotta pots gather like quiet onlookers, basil, rosemary, wild mint, all thriving in this sun-washed pocket of the yard. The afternoon light paints long shadows, not just of plants, but of effort, of care, of slow transformation. Further along the red brick wall, another story unfolds. This time, a faded green hose has been reborn as part of a bamboo lattice, each circle thoughtfully secured. It doesn't try to look perfect. Instead, it tells you, softly, honestly, that it was built by hand. Coral honeysuckle spills upward through the frame, its orange blossoms lighting up the lattice like lanterns. Blue lobelia creeps between the hose and bamboo. Beside the frame, a trowel rests in the dirt, and an open bag of soil leans against the wall, signs of a garden still becoming. There's movement here. Not just of petals in the wind, but of someone returning each morning, watering, adjusting, dreaming. And finally, the narrow patio garden where spirals of old hose climb like dancers, tied delicately to wood with twine. Purple bean vines loop around them with surprising elegance, their flowers nestled alongside white mandevilla blooms. The hoses are patched and weathered, but that's the charm, they're not pretending to be new. They're useful, grounded, real. Below, pots of herbs line the walkway like green punctuation marks, oregano, thyme, perhaps even lavender waiting to bloom. This project doesn't require money. It asks for time, for creativity, for a willingness to see not trash, but potential. So next time you're about to throw something away, ask yourself, could this hold a vine? Could this cradle a flower? Could it, like you, grow into something more?